Chief at the Kotoka International Airport arrested in the U.S. for drug-related offenses. Meanwhile, the Transport Ministry has downplayed threats by the Meteo Agency to withdraw vital weather information services to the airport. Former President Rawlings commemorates anniversary of June 4 uprising as the relevance of the event is called into question. EC Chair concludes evidence-in-chief in election petition hearing with a call for the petitioner's claims for an annulment of over 4 million votes to be rejected. An Association of Small-Scale Miners wants inclusion in presidential task force to clamp down on illegal mining amidst claims they are being unduly victimized. We also have sports, business and showbiz coming up in the next hour.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
Now, very first story, the former airport security boss Solomon Adelakwe has been arrested in the United States for drug trafficking. Adelakwe, who is managing director of Sohin Security, was picked up with 3 others, 2 Nigerians and a Colombian, for their roles in a drug trafficking syndicate which had been operating in the West African sub-region. The Narcotic Control Board has confirmed the arrest. In a statement, the Executive Secretary of NACOB, Akresi Sapong, said the arrest was due to cooperation with the Drugs Enforcement Administration, DEA, of the Department of Justice of the United States of America. The statement named the other arrested suspects as Frank Chima Moldum and Celestine Ofo, all Nigerians, and Samuel Antonio Pinedo Rueda, a Colombian. Government just yesterday directed the Ghana Airport Company Limited to suspend with immediate effect a contract it has with Sohin Security. A statement signed by the Minister for Information and Media Relations, Mama Yariga, said the suspension is in response to ongoing investigations into the activities of that security company and its management. The management of the GACL, according to the statement, had also been directed to liaise with the state security agencies to ensure security at the airports are not compromised during the transition following the directive. Now, the Transport Ministry has meanwhile downplayed threats by the Ghana Meteorological Agency to withdraw vital weather information services to the Ghana Airport Company. The agency is reported to have made the threat about 2 months ago, citing the airport company's indebtedness for services it says is up to about $2 million. The Transport Minister, Jifa Ativo, however, tells Joy News that Ghana Airport Company Limited has no direct business relationship with GMET and has asked it to produce documents to back its claims.
Threats by the Meteo Agency, if carried through, will mean that airlines landing or taking off at the Kotoka International Airport and other sites operated by the airport company will not have access to critical weather information, which will make it virtually impossible for them to operate safely. Jifa Ativo, however, says the agency can make no such claims.
The issue is being handled at a higher level, but if GMA thinks airport company owes them, they should provide evidence and we'll take it from there.
According to her, any such claims should rather be directed to the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, describing the standoff as being in poor taste.
I think it's unfortunate for an agency head to make such a frightening pronouncement that our only international airport faces a shutdown. I mean, it sends bad signal to the traveling public because passengers or tourists who want to come to Ghana will be alarmed because they don't want to stay here permanently. Maybe they come here and then the airport is closed. How do they go back?
Meanwhile, GMET boss, Group Captain Stephen Komla, has reportedly denied issuing threats to close down Kotoka International Airport. He, however, maintains the Ghana Airport Company owes his outfit.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan, has ordered the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, PIPS, to investigate alleged brutality by some officers. Some officers of the Accra Regional Command who intervened in a violent clash between land guards and some artisans over a piece of land were captured brutalizing the suspects. A press statement from the Police Public Affairs Directorate says the directive comes as a result of the videotape showing scenes of the officers brutalizing the unarmed men. The police were said to have been caught unawares. Meanwhile, Accra Region Police Public Relations Officer DSP Freeman Tete confirmed to join us the police administration watched footage of what transpired in cantonment, which necessitated the investigation to establish whether there was a breach of police regulation. He was sure no police officer would be shielded when found guilty, assuring that this is not the first time PIPS is investigating officers who have misconducted themselves. And there you see the footage on the screens, and the visuals are courtesy Metro TV. Now, elsewhere, police in the Dafiama-Buse Isa district of the Upper West region have started investigations into the alleged murder of a 64-year-old man at Dafiama. 39-year-old Andrews Yoni is alleged to have murdered the deceased for cutting down branches of a mango tree for the purposes of building a fence. Rafiq Salam's report. And please note, some of the images in the story are quite gory.
Tree allegedly owned by the father of the complainant, whose name was only given as Joseph, and started cutting down the branches, ostensibly to be used to fence his garden. When he was confronted by the complainant, the deceased allegedly attacked and wounded him with the axe he was using.
Police on arrival at the scene found the two combatants in a pool of blood with wounds having been inflicted on their respective bodies, which we believe were inflicted on themselves during the scuffle.
DSP Daniel Kwanchi said the complainant then left for Nadoli to report the incident to the police, after which another relative of his emerged at the scene. The remains of the deceased is deposited at the Royal Regional Hospital, whilst the assailant was treated, discharged and remanded in police custody for further investigations. Rafiq Salam's report from Dafiama.
Now, cadres and supporters of the June 4 revolution who gathered at the Revolutionary Square today to take part in activities marking the 34th anniversary of the uprising were rather disappointed when former President Rawlings refused to make any public pronouncement. The former president also ceded his lighting of the perpetual flame, but pulled a little stunt by dipping his hands into the furnace. Gifty Ando Apia has one.
The cadre spirit was quite visible at the Revolutionary Square opposite the Flagstaff House as quite a moderate crowd gathered to hear the special guest of honor, Jerry Rawlings, often referred to as the architect of the revolution. Four wreaths were laid for those described as fallen heroes of the revolution. Volta Regional Minister Nilai Afoteagbo laid one on behalf of the people of Ghana. SWO Salifu laid a wreath for the security services. Chairman for the Greater Accra Cadre Corps, Rejoice Ahiable, laid one for the Cadre Corps, while Paramount Chief for Otublahu, Nidodu Nsaki, laid one on behalf of traditional authorities. Former President Rawlings watched former Attorney General Martin Aidoo, Alhaji Huduyaya of the NDC, and the Queen Mother, popularly known as IGP, light the perpetual flame, after which he dipped his hands into it. The Otublahu Manje Nidodu Nsaki, who delivered the keynote speech instead of former President Rawlings, called for an end to the rampant chieftaincy brawls, especially in the capital.
or mommy, and at that time, before you got corruption, you can be your mom laying ground. One naga Nibian or Naka, a cafe, a milk fee. You were Sunny, and me Chucky. She liked the shoes. 2-4 for a minute, fee. And what Chucky low? Go Chucky, go over Modulo Chucky. O come and Champion who win. O like a day or day. She moved before we get law. So no law actually. June 4th, I ain't bound to winning the war.
In attendance at this year's celebration was Minister of Information and Media Relations Mahama Yariga and former Minerals and Natural Resources Minister Mike Hammer. On parade were cadres from the 31st December movement and young cadres said to be the future of the revolution.
Now, Aidoo, the former President Kofi Adams has been explaining Mr. Rawlings chose not to make any remarks at the June 4 commemoration because he had spoken extensively yesterday.
Why did he decide not to speak? Because everybody was expecting that he would speak.
He spoke just yesterday. The previous times when he speaks here, it means there had not been any function in Accra where he addressed persons here in Accra. But yesterday we've had a function in Accra here and he has spoken, and we all saw it on the front pages of today's paper. So it's not really necessary to speak at this function again.
Why Martin Aidoo? Why
you can't choose all. All can go there. He looks around and sees who can assist to do it. This year, it so happened that Martin Aidoo was around. Alhaji Hudu Yaya has been a cadre's cadre. The Queen Mother, who was also with us, popularly called IGP, has also served a community so well and have upheld the values. So it's a rich combination of all these institutions to light the flame that all of us have a role to play in imbibing and pushing further the ideals of the revolution. If June 4th had not happened, this country would have become maybe like a Somalia or any of those stateless countries. But thank God that it happened, and we say never again. That if even anybody attempt to do anything untoward, institutions have been established to correct that. And so for June 4th, we must be very, very grateful for it.
Well, some members of parliament have been sharing their thoughts about June 4 and its relevance. While some agree with the ideals, most believe it would do with some rebranding.
MP for Efutu Alexander McKean says, though he believes in the ideology, a change of name could help the occasion resonate more with the current generation.
If it's all about the principle, then there should even be a national policy of putting in place a day that we would celebrate or would mark as accountability, probity, transparency day. Okay? Accountability, probity, and a day of accountability. If that day is being put in, there will be activities to create national awareness, instill a sense of patriotism in the youth. Yes.
MP for Joaboso Kwabena Minta Akando also believes the day is still relevant and that there are still lessons to be learnt.
I think June 4th will continue to be relevant in our democratic dispensation. If it is not about the terminology or the name given to it, the principles, we should educate our people about it. Because it is if you are talking about students, it is the students who will grow up to become leaders of the future. And therefore, it is about time we try to take them through the do's and the don'ts of a quality leader. And clearly, the principles of June 4th are some of the clear characteristics of a good leader.
The Member of Parliament for Ofuase Ayiribi constituency, David Oponkusi, says, however, is of the opinion the occasion has outlived its usefulness.
That if June 4th's own relevance will show in the way people remember it, even if they are not taught. We still know about Christ. Little children know about Christ without they are being taught. Why? It's still relevant. Christianity is still relevant. Islam is still relevant. I think that in that sense, the relevance of June 4th is fading. It is really fading. So it will go into our history books, to go probably into the syllabus of political science. But beyond that, whatever lessons, again, like I said earlier on, whatever lessons we needed to learn, we've learned it, we've put things in place, it is gone.
The Deputy Minister and MP for Mion, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Hassan, on the other hand, agrees with the claim by the former President Rawlings that the factors that induced the revolution are still relevant. He, however, says the challenges are being tackled in a different way.
The intervention of June 4, 1979, 34 years ago, the situation could have been worse. Maybe a bigger revolution or a more messy situation could have arisen between 1979 and now. And fortunately, thanks to that intervention, perhaps the same values or wrongdoings are beginning to rear themselves. But the tools to use to arrest those wrongdoings must have changed, because the situation was different 34 years ago than it is today. Because at that time, we didn't have a constitutional regime, we didn't have a constitutional framework within which to deal with corruption issues. Today, it is the case. It is also that same revolution that, if you like, lived up to establish the foundations to fight corruption within state institutions.
Meanwhile, 2 papers were laid before Parliament today before the adjournment of sitting to tomorrow.
There are those, however, who are strongly opposed to the commemoration of June 4. Take former MP Balado Menu, for instance.
Look, he should ask himself, during the former days of June 4th, was he having it in his room, in his house? Was it in his residence that he was having it? It was a national event. When he came and spoke, and today he's having it in his residence. How many party peoples, party faithfuls, the big guns, are there now with him? That should tell him that that so-called revolution he prides himself of has lost its relevance. And very soon, I wouldn't be surprised if he will not be having it in his living room. It's something that he shouldn't think he has done something. He just came, we saw him, we know what he did, the gains and the losses that this country and individuals have gone through. People, please, when he does this thing, he reminds some of us of the pain. He has been using that word, the pain and agony that we have within us.
Now, government says it hopes the National Disaster Management Organization will be able to assist victims of recent floods that have occurred in the country. Speaking at today's media briefing at the Flagstaff House, Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Murtala Mohammed empathized with victims but blamed the problem on attitudes as well as shortcomings by responsible agencies. He also touched on airport security.
To a very large extent, the flooding that we have is as a result of the way we put up structures. I mean, it's a collective responsibility, you know, but I think that we all agree that when people put up their buildings on waterways, such buildings ought to be demolished. If we don't do that, then we stand the risk of several buildings being demolished through the floods. The town and country planning, I think that they also have a responsibility to that. You don't just give people permits to put up structures anywhere. But I think I listened to the interview the NADMO boss had with your station, and he indicated, yes, they don't have the adequate resources that they have. But he did also indicate that he's in constant touch with the Ministry of Finance, and he's convinced that as and when they need the resources will be provided. We empathize with such people. I mean, we feel their if you like, their grief. We understand the circumstances in which they are and the difficulty. But we have had such reports in the past that you have the district NADMO officers who would say that we don't have the resources or the needed resources to support. In some instances, they tell you that, yes, we haven't had supplies from Accra. But at the end of the day, the supplies or the resources will go anyway. But I am very convinced that the head office would do something, and we just call on them to do something as quickly as possible. They shouldn't be allowed to put up structures there in the first place. At least I believe if we prevent people from doing the wrong things, we wouldn't even get to the stage where they would have to destroy structures and it becomes a moral issue. Today, if there's a task force that says demolished, you would find people who will be crying that, oh, people have spent so much money putting up such structures and you end up destroying them. You know, I think that we are sometimes being overly moralistic. The extent to which we don't look at people engaged in wrongful acts, we look at the moral aspects of it, sometimes interesting.
Chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kofi Adams, today concluded his evidence-in-chief in the election petition hearing, asking the Supreme Court to reject the petitioner's claim for the annulment of more than 4 million votes in the 2012 election because, according to him, no firm basis has been shown to merit the claim. Though he had earlier conceded that about 3% of the election results records were unsigned, he said it did not in any way affect the results. Meanwhile, disagreements over which of the parties should commence cross-examination of the EC chairman held back proceedings for a while.
Dr. Afari-Gyan blamed mounting pressure on election day for some presiding officers' failure to sign the pink sheets. The unsigned pink sheets are one of the several vehicles of rigging alleged by the petitioners in their challenge of the results. Meanwhile, the issue as to which of the parties was to begin with the cross-examination of Dr. Afari-Gyan generated some back and forth amongst lead counsel for the petitioners and counsels for the first and third respondents.
Well, maybe first and third respondents do not wish to cross-examine. If they do not wish to cross-examine, they should.
I may just respectfully add that counsel for the petitioners had no hesitation the previous time in beginning the cross-examination of, and we do not see anything that has changed in relation to the situation. The third respondent is an independent and separate party from the second respondent.
My Lord, if you can, I wish to point out he quoted the evidence decree. I refer to the Evidence Act, yes, Section 71, which is different from what he quoted. In the Evidence Decree, there is subject to. In the Evidence Act, Section 71, it says the court may treat the court. There is no subject to anything there. So there are two different provisions.
The justices, after retiring into their chambers, returned with a ruling in favor of the petitioners. Lawyer Tony Letha then commenced his cross-examination of the EC boss. His cross-examination continues tomorrow.
The Central, Western and Volta Regional Coordinating Councils have each received Nissan Patrol vehicles from the French Development Agency to enhance their operations. The vehicles are to help the councils effectively monitor the use of the district development facility given to metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies.
The presentation of the vehicles by the French Development Agency at a cost of 4 million euros completes the first phase of its assistance to the local government system. The second phase, which has an amount of 21 million euros, will go to support the coordinating councils of the remaining 7 regions. It is to help them with the monitoring, implementation, as well as the evaluation of developmental programs and projects. Donors believe the gesture will reinforce accountability and decentralization.
This appeal to have a better monitoring by the RCC has been taken into account, and so these 3 vehicles have been bought and have been given today to 3 regions. The other will come during the year or next year. It is a first batch, but I think more important than the vehicle itself, perhaps it's the evidence that the RCC now are really integrated and part of the DDF monitoring.
Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Baba Jamal, grateful for the gesture, was emphatic the vehicles will improve the performance of the various MMDAs.
Everybody receives the common fund, but the DDF is given as a special fund, as an addition to the common fund for them to do their operation. And that one, when you are able to perform to some level, Now, this is a project that is a special project that is supported by some partners, and it has to be coordinated from the regional level in terms of reports coming back to the Secretariat, in terms of the performance on the ground, and even before you are given the DDF, there is some assessment that goes on. So by giving them this vehicle, one, you are assured that regional coordinators will move to the ground to ensure that the people perform their duties, and whatever report they bring up, we can cross-check it on the ground. And so it is surely going to improve the performance of the DDF, and it's going to also improve our developmental process and the decentralization process in the.
Telecoms firm MTN will, in the next 21 days, refurbish some dilapidated school structures, undertake career counseling sessions, as well as provide ICT training for some 11 selected basic schools under its Yellow Care program. Officials explain the company's corporate social responsibility this year seeks to make investment in education a priority.
The 2013 MTN Yellow Care program was launched at the Osu Salem Junior High School in Accra, one of the beneficiary schools. Senior officials of the company immediately moved to work to remove dilapidated windows and door frames. For the next 3 days, they will refurbish the school, undertaking major rehabilitation works, including masonry and painting. Headmaster Reverend Isaac Brown lauded MTN for the initiative and tasked other corporate institutions to do same.
Over the years, we've seen some deterioration in our facilities, the structures for the school. And we were always wondering where help will come from. This has indeed affected both teaching and learning. So when MTN came in, the MTN Foundation, wanting to help us, we grabbed the opportunity, not with both hands, but our feet as well. Yes. We are indeed grateful, and we pray that when this thing is ready, it will reflect in the teaching and learning in this school.
The company last year planted over 9,000 trees. Chief Executive Officer of the company, Michael Ikpoki, underscored the importance of education to national development.
What we are looking at is education for all, but aside from the physical work we are doing here, we also have other things we are going to be doing. For example, career guiding sessions where we can actually meet students and teachers and engage them. So this is just one of several activities that we'll be doing along the way. Well, it's really equipping students to be able to better equipped in terms of ICT knowledge. ICT is becoming a key part of the student curricula, so we also have to prepare students for that regard, not just also looking at the facilities, but also training them mentally in terms of giving them the kind of knowledge that they need to operate in that space. So that's also going to be part of what we'll be doing in 21 days.
This year's MTN Yellow Care program is under the theme, Investing in Education for All. Some of the other beneficiary schools include the Agotikope Primary School at Amasamang.
Up next, we bring you business news.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association.
The Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners has accused the Presidential Task Force mandated to clamp down on the activities of illegal miners of heavy-handedness and unwarranted attacks on their members engaged in legitimate business. The association is asking to be included in the task force because it believes the current members are unable to distinguish between those engaged in galamsey and those doing legitimate business.
Galamsey operations have come into sharp focus lately because of the widespread destruction, pollution and degradation to the environment caused by the illegal small-scale miners. The involvement of foreigners in the trade in contravention of the law has further buoyed the security agencies' resolve to clamp down on the operators. Addressing a news conference today, however, the Association of Small-Scale Miners charged that some unscrupulous persons were taking undue advantage of the directive to extort monies and other items from legal small-scale miners. According to them, the task force set up by President on May 14th appears to have very little knowledge as to who was registered to operate as a small-scale miner and has therefore lumped all small-scale miners as engaging in galamsey.
We appeal to the security agencies to exercise restraint, since His Excellency, the President, has not directed them to harass legalized miners. Moreover, Small-scale miners have permits from the Environmental Protection Agency as far as restoration of their mine site is concerned. It is important to restate the point that the issue on the President's agenda is on illegal mining. Ladies and gentlemen, we as Small-Scale Miners Association would like to assure the President that we are solidly behind him and will offer our support and cooperation. We are also asking him to involve us in the work of the task force, as we are best placed to know where all the illegalities are being carried out.
The group also drew attention to some illegal activities ongoing in the Western region.
We would like to draw the committee's attention to a serious illegality being carried out in the Ayem Forest Reserve within the Bebiani Forest District. Illegal miners have evaded the reserve, stretching from Juabo through Sraha to Ayem in the Amenfi East District of the Western region. It is alleged that some forestry officers, in collaboration with some military personnel stationed there, receive some huge sums of money on regular basis to condone this illegality.
They further noted in streamlining the activities of small-scale mining, the association is in the process of signing an MOU with the University of Mines, Takwa, to train people in the small-scale mining industry.
The Association of Ghana Industry says recent hikes in petroleum prices would increase the already high cost of doing business. Subsidies on petrol, diesel and LPG were completely scrapped over the weekend, resulting in a 3 to 2% increase in the prices of some products. Government, however, maintained subsidies on kerosene, premix and residual fuel. The AGI argues, though it welcomes plans to review prices every 2 weeks, the adjustments was not influenced by the current trends on the international market. Its executive director, Seth Chum, says this is putting a lot of pressure on industry. Well, Communications Minister Dr. Edward Omanebwama has assured subscribers of significant improvement in the service quality of telcos by the end of the year. Consumers have persistently lashed out at the telecom firms for poor services, but the operators have insisted they have genuine challenges. The minister was speaking to Joy Business at Airtel's data center as part of his working visit to acquaint himself with how the networks operate. He says there are strategic moves to ensure that network quality is significantly enhanced before December. Now, as part of efforts to reduce the country's housing deficit, African Support Network is offering 200 semi-detached houses for sale at a discount of 10%. The two-bedroom units, which also come with a mortgage financing option, gives buyers the opportunity to make a 10% down payment with a remainder spread over 20 years.
State-tagged Sunset Bay is a semi-detached residential community with houses built over a 53-acre land situated at Oyibi in Accra. The two-bedroom houses, which are about 80% complete, come with ancillary facilities and are going for 140,000 cedis each, depending on the location. The community, developed for the middle class, however, has electricity and water connection. Africa Support Network ASN developers of the estate say they are set to develop more affordable houses to bridge the current housing deficit.
By September, we'll complete the 3-bedroom flats, that housing units, and it will be 400 in total. We have different sites. So far, ASN is having close to about 2,000 acreage of land and in different locations. And over here, we are having close to about 500 acres. So we are on. We've just used only about 53 acres out of the 500 acres. So we are sure to say that from next year, probably we'll do a lot more housing.
Chief Executive Officer of ASN, Prince Sapon, was worried about the high cost of housing in the country vis-a-vis low incomes.
When we look at our market, you find a lot of people in that bracket where they cannot meet the baseline as to paying these mortgage facilities. I mean, the facilities are there when you go to the banks and you go to the mortgage houses and stuff, mortgage finance houses and stuff like that. But then what you find out is that the income bracket on paper actually is not there. I mean, you have somebody earning about 600 Ghana cedi, and behind the table, the person can earn about 4,000. They can pay, but then they don't meet the requirement of the finance house who's going to take the mortgage up.
ASN Ghana Properties, a registered member of GREDA, have apartment buildings at Madina, Lankwantanan and Pantang also on sale at a 10% discount.
Business was brought to you.
Sports is brought to you in association with.
Time for the very latest in the world of sports. My name is George Addy Jr. Let's do some Premier League stuff. And Premier League side Ashanti Gold are threatening to boycott their Matchday 29 league game against Kumasi Asante Kotoko if their Sipon venue is not changed. The Miners are unhappy with the choice of their Sipon stadium for the penultimate qualifier, claiming the distance to be covered will rather serve as a punishment.
The Miners are unhappy with the choice of the Esipon Stadium for the penultimate qualifier, claiming the long distance will rather serve as punishment to them when it should be the other way round. Kotoko's home ground has been temporarily shut down by the Ghana FA after crowd violence marred their Premier League game against Medema. They honored their last home game at the Sunai Coronation Park, but the decision to choose the Esipon as the match venue for the crucial tie has not gone down well with the Boise-based side. Chief Executive Officer of the club has confirmed to Joy Sports they have sent a strong signal to the country's Premier League board that they will not honor the match if the venue is not changed. They feel travelling many miles from the Ashanti to the Western region is unfair and intended to punish them for doing no wrong.
All right, so we stay with soccer and we continue our build-up to Michael Essie's Game of Hope to be staged at the Cross Sports Stadium on Saturday. In tonight's profile of soccer stars to expect on the day, we take a closer look at Frenchman Florent Malouda, Liberian legend George Opongwea, and Ghanaian super captain Stephen Appiah. Florent Malouda, born 13th June 1980, is a French footballer who is currently unattached, having mostly played recently for Chelsea. Once a prominent figure for the club, Malouda was not part of the first-team squad in his final year. After a dispute over transfer wages in the summer of 2012, he trained with the under-21 squad until his contract expired at the end of the season. Stephen Appiah. He's a Ghanaian footballer who is currently a free agent. He has played for several European clubs since 1997. Appiah was a member of the Ghana national team, which he has represented at the youth, Olympic and senior levels. He captained Ghana at the World Cup debut in 2006 and was a member of the squad for the 2010 World Cup. He is a strong all-round box-to-box midfielder able to defend as well as create and score goals. Stephen Appiah began his career at local club Accra Hearts of Oak in 1995 at the age of 15. George Opongwea, born on 1st October 1966, is a Liberian humanitarian and politician and an ex-footballer. He ran unsuccessfully for president in the 2005 election, losing to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in the second round of voting. In the 2011 election, he ran for vice president on Winston Timber's ticket. He also spent 14 years of his professional football career playing for clubs in France, Italy and England, and won trophies in each of these three countries. In 1995, he was named FIFA World Player of the Year, European Footballer of the Year and African Footballer of the Year. All right, so it's going to be an interesting game, and remember the Joy Sports is bringing you everything live on Saturday as well. We'll cover the arrival, so make sure you stay lock and tracked into everything that happens. Let's do some cycling before we end this. And stage 8 of the ongoing Cowbell Bike Tour failed to produce a change at the top as Isaac Saki suffered scary movements from Mora Jala and Prosper Agbo to keep a tight grip on his yellow jersey ahead of the Queen's stage tomorrow. The Queen's stage will represent the toughest challenge to all cyclists, and Joy Sports will keep you posted on the very latest. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Addy Jr. Israel will join us with Showbiz. You have a good night.
Sports was brought.
Now to wrap up the bulletin, a quick look at our top stories once again. A former security chief at the Kotoka International Airport has been arrested in the U.S. for drug-related offences. Meanwhile, the Transport Ministry has downplayed threats by the Meteo Agency to withdraw vital weather information services to the airport. Former President Rawlings has commemorated